Hello, and welcome to my adventure Reborn, a series of videos exploring the vast lore of MapleStory through the journey of our rising hero, RogSlayer. This series tracks my warrior's progression as I attempt to become a mighty Paladin, and one by one defeat the many quests and bosses, from Henesys to Tenebris and beyond. I'm reinventing the way I play by intentionally slowing the leveling process to complete the quests in each region and discover more about the story behind the game I've always loved. I hope you learn something along the way and do enjoy. So after wrapping up business in Perion, I figured the next best place to visit was probably Henesys. Seeing the majority of Henesys adventurers are deep in discussion about their favorite waifus, I figured my services might be needed. Sure enough, upon speaking with this young girl named Camila, she reveals that her friend Maya is actually quite sick and requires this special green and yellow mushroom cap soup. The great thing was, when I got there, I actually saw a bounty for green mushrooms as well, which rewarded me with extra EXP and this sweet pair of amethyst earrings for the kills I was going to do anyway. So with my earrings equipped, I headed back to Henesys and handed over the honey, flour, and caps so Camila could make the soup. And with the soup in hand, I headed off to Maya, who was wise enough to be quarantined in her house. Unfortunately, it seems there was a bit of a party going on, and my presence was met with notable looks of confusion by Vera. It seems like the other two might have been AFK, but I literally started cracking up when this guy just hit me with the F6. With Maya's thanks, I headed back to Camila, who decided she's actually going to prepare horny mushroom pie for Chief Stan and the other townspeople. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I'm starting to wonder if there's any correlation at all between these horny mushroom pies and some of the conversations going on amongst our fellow adventurers lounging in Henesys. So once again, needing honey, flour, and mushroom caps, I made my way out of Henesys down to the Windflower Forest to kill some horny mushrooms, and was super juiced to be met with another bounty. I seriously love these because it's just a free EXP chunk and a item reward for the kills that you're going to do for quests anyway, so I'm always happy to complete those. Although, as you guys see on this one, I was less than ecstatic with the reward, you know. I was assuming at least I'd get some type of warrior shoe or item, but to get an archer shoe, that's an F. That's a rip. Upon speaking with Camila, she's kind enough to wrap up a special horny mushroom pie, and she actually recommends I deliver it personally to the Chief of Henesys, which is Chief Stan. She does mention that one of Chief Stan's sons had actually run away from home, and I figured the least I could do was bring the man a pie. Stan mentions that he has heard his runaway son is actually doing well, but wants him to learn his own lesson and come back on his own accord. On the other hand, his son by Miss Mingming, Jay, isn't doing so well, and requires 20 blue mushroom spores to help his eyesight. I was teleported here to the blue mushroom forest where I made quick work of them, and also completed another bounty. This time, a chunk of EXP and some yellow square earrings as my reward. Even though they're not that good, they are better than the amethyst earrings, and they really remind me of Kerning City PQ, along with the other level 25 earrings, so I think I'm going to hold on to them for now. And that's when I decided to head back to town to speak with Jay. Funny enough, Jay seems to have just as many questions as to how these spores are going to help his eyesight as I do. I mean, I do suppose either way, my actions would help win the favor of his father, Chief Stan, and it's always good to have friends in high places. It was then that Jay first mentioned Alex, who apparently is his brother by marriage. He tells us that Chief Stan remarrying was very difficult for Alex to cope with, and so he had run away to Kerning. I thought this would proc a quest with Alex and Kerning, but Nella was actually the only one who had anything to say. She starts babbling to herself about this strange dream from the night prior, and when prodded, she actually tells you she came to walking in this huge green forest characterized by trees so tall, she says they kiss the sky with ease. Seemingly out of nowhere, I guess this striped cat emerges from the trees before dissipating right in front of her. And even stranger, she notes that the cat spoke like human language to her, and that this dream didn't really feel like a dream at all. Having piqued my interest, I agreed to help her find it, and they keep saying humongous green trees, so I was thinking this was definitely somewhere in Alinea. I sold my loot, then headed to Alinea in hopes that it might be there. From prior play, I remembered there was actually a cat that fit this description sitting somewhere in the forest of Alinea. And after jumping around on a couple of these tall tree maps, I actually found him, right there, perked up high beside a giant tree. Fancy was quite surprised that a human might know of him, and even more so that a human would try to speak to him in English. He admits that he did appear to Nella in her dream, and notes that he's actually the pet of this magical fairy, which I guess does better explain his ability to speak and perform other magical feats. Now, realizing that I'm a capable explorer, Fancy actually takes this opportunity to request help and asks us to locate a precious ball of yarn given to him by his fairy master. Not yet actually knowing who his master is, I decided it might be wise to acquiesce. It was pretty fun killing these green slimes, and I just love being at any map in Alinea. It really reminds me of all the time I spent training the green mushrooms in the high trees. On my way back up, you can see I actually ran into this explorer who's just sitting there by himself, and I decided to look at his level. What are the odds that this guy would actually be a 220 Paladin, just chilling here alone in the Alinea trees? So I said what's up to him and actually let him know that I was going to be a Paladin too, which he was pretty happy about, said it was a sick choice. He even accepted my friend request and offered to answer any of the questions that I might have, which I thought was so cool. It's so in the spirit of what Maple's always been about, which is just exploration and meeting other cool people who help you along the way. It was around this point though that I realized I didn't want to take up too much of his time. Sure, he's a busy guy, so I just added him. I then decided to head off back towards Fancy. After all, I did have a quest to attend to. As I headed back up the tree, there was Fancy, and as a reward, he actually used his special ability. I guess his fairy master granted him this power to communicate with other animals, and he actually used it to speak to my snail and increase our closeness. Pretty cool reward conceptually, though this did serve as a reminder that my snail's magic would be running out soon and I would need another. I checked in with Nella, but she had nothing to say and Carney was quiet, so I went back to Alinea where I remembered Hersha had a quest. After seeing that it was actually called the Forest of Endurance, I did what any adventurer should, and skipped it. No, I'm just kidding guys, but I did realize it was going to be a jump quest and I wanted to check in with Grendel first. Grendel reveals that Alinea was originally a fairy town, and that only recently humans began to inhabit the area. Being one myself, he strongly recommends I introduce myself to the other fairies, including Rowan, whose approval would be very critical in fitting in around town. And that's where we're going to leave it. Until next episode. I don't want to give away too much, but next episode is going to involve some dark marbles, and discovering a region high in the trees that has come to be known as the Forest of Endurance. That concludes episode 2. Please give this video the thumbs up, and if you enjoyed this video, subscribe and consider recommending it to a Mapler you know so they can enjoy it too. I love hearing your guys' feedback, so leave a comment below letting me know what low-level quest line you're most excited to see. Forest of Eladin is already in the works as requested by Tauntaun, and I want to hear from you. So until next time, happy mapling.